Hi everyone, this is Chiwe from One Dog Wolf, and in this video we're going to be making a little mini belly basket. For this project you're going to need just yarn, any color will do. I chose kind of a terracotta color to make it evoke sort of a basket feeling, but obviously you can make this in any color that you'd like. And an F hook, this is 3.75 millimeters, scissors, tapestry needle, a length of black embroidery thread for your face, 6mm safety eyes, cluster stuffing, and a ruler to help measure the distance between the eyes. Okay, let's get started. If you take a look at the finished belly basket, you'll see that the inside is filled, and there's actually a piece inside here that is sewn to the inside wall of the belly basket so that we can stuff the belly basket, hide the eyes, and still give it the basket look without having just a complete cover over the top. So before we begin the body of the belly basket, we're going to make the inside piece. This is going to be a magic circle. We're going to start with 6 single crochets in the magic circle. Insert your hook into the first stitch of the round and then complete a slip stitch, chain 1, and then for the second round work 2 single crochets in each stitch around. And then join this round with a seamless join. This next round will make 18. We're increasing by 6 stitches each round. Okay, so this is the end of the piece. At this point, I'm not going to join. I'm going to show you a different kind of join when you're just ending at the end of the round. I'm going to cut a really long tail because I'm going to need this end tail to sew the outside to the inside of the belly basket. So this tail should be 3 to 4 times the circumference. 3 is usually enough. I like to go 4 just to make sure I have enough. And I'm going to cut the tail. So I have a nice long tail. I'm going to show you the invisible join. It doesn't really matter here. We could actually just do a regular join and then fasten off. But I'm going to show you an invisible join when you are working with a round that hasn't been closed up. So you're going to take this working yarn and you're just going to pull it all the way through. And then thread the yarn onto a needle. You're going to work your needle into the second stitch of the round from front to back. Back to front is okay too. You just want to go underneath the 2 loops here. Okay, and what we're doing is we're recreating a V so that the close looks like every other stitch around. So now we're going to insert the needle into the middle of the last stitch in the round. So we're not going to go under the loop, we're actually going to go right into the middle and then out under the back loop of the last stitch. So you can see this is really wide, but it's a V just like every other V. And then what happens is when you pull this closed, then you can't tell which stitch it is, where the close is. And then you can secure this. I'm actually going to just weave it in a little bit just to secure it, because we are going to be using this tail to sew this piece onto the inside of the belly basket. So I want to just make sure that this stitch is secure. And now this end is ready to use the mattress stitch and sew these stitches to the inside wall of the belly basket. And again, we have a magic circle here that still needs to be closed off. So let's pull that tight, make sure that the magic circle has closed. And then let's tie this knot to secure it so that it doesn't fall apart. And then you can also run this end through some of these back loops. And then we can cut this short. And this will be the cover that goes inside the belly basket. We'll use this to sew this piece into the inside, and then the magic circle is secure with the tail, and this is going to go, it's going to face the stuffing on the inside. The belly basket, as I mentioned, is worked in seamed rounds, so we're going to start with a 6-inch tail and a magic circle. You want to leave this first stitch a little bit looser because we're going to be working our hook into there, and this first one always comes out a little bit tighter than you think. Okay, so we've done 6. We're going to pull tight and then insert our hook into the first stitch and then complete a slip stitch. So that's our first round. So we're coming up on the end of row 5. This round has 30 stitches in it. I'm going to join my round . I'm not going to pull tight because this is a good place to stop and secure your magic circle. And then you can continue working the belly basket from the front. You'll want to watch your tension here because you don't want to create too big of a hole. You want to be putting in loose stuffing in here. So although I'm not working super tight because that's just really hard on your hands, I'm also not working super loose. You do have to find a comfortable gauge. An exact gauge isn't as important. It often depends on the yarn that you use and the size hook that you use. For this particular project, I am using a hook size that is one size smaller than what the yarn recommends because I wanted just a slightly tighter look for amigurumi because of the stuffing that I'm using. And now we're going to increase by 12 stitches instead of the usual 6 to kind of give it that flare that you see in belly baskets. So we'll be making increases twice as often. And with these seamless join stitches, the first single crochet tends to get curled into the back, so you're going to want to flip that out if you have trouble finding it. For round 9, we're going to be working into the back loops of every stitch, and we're going to be making slip stitches instead of single crochets. Now, the trick here is to make sure that your slip stitches are loose enough because the next round, round 10, we're going to be working our hook into the back loops of the slip stitches. If you feel that your tension's too tight and you can't keep it quite loose enough, you can switch to a larger hook. This is a 4mm hook instead of a 3.75mm hook. And this will force you to keep those stitches just a little bit larger. So once you do a few stitches, they're slip stitches into the back loops, you can take your F hook again, or whichever hook that you were using previously, and make sure that you can insert the hook into the back loops of these slip stitches. This is what you're going to be doing on the next round, and so you want to make sure that your stitches are not too tight. So it looks like these are okay. I'm going to stick with a slightly larger hook to give myself a little bit of a leeway, and we'll continue working slip stitches into the back loops of every stitch around. As we finish the last stitch in this round with my larger hook, I'm going to stop. I'm going to switch out to my original hook, and then I'm going to do the seamless join, but just using the back loop of my slip stitch, because I'm going to be working into the back loop, so I really don't need to pull up both of these loops of the slip stitch. I'm just going to use the back one and then work the seamless join as usual. Make sure everything's pulled tight. Chain one, and then on round 10 I'm going to work in the back loops of all of these slip stitches, and I'm going to be working a single crochet. I just completed round 10 where we worked single crochets into the back loops of the slip stitches, and you can see we've created a bit of a ridge, and at this point, as we move forward, we're going to bring the belly basket back in. So this is the belly. I found that this is a good time to put the eyes in, because this ridge here is the middle point of the belly basket, and we always want our eyes right below the center point, so we know that the eyes are going to go between rows 9 and 10, which is right along here. And because this is seamed, we keep the seam in the back, everything else is round. We're going to put our eyes across from the seam so that the seam remains in the back. So for the first eye, I always just start somewhere, and then I just put them in. I measure to make sure that they're wide enough. And this one, again, from center to center of the eye, we're just under 1 1/4 inches. So that works. And then I check to see that the seam is correctly placed right along the back of it, because I don't want my face here and then end up seeing the seam. So that looks okay to me. And then one way, if you're not quite comfortable with this, with how the eyes are placed, if you don't know whether they're too wide apart or too narrow, is you can create the face, create the smile, and then make sure that the eyes are right before you snap them in place. I like having round smiles instead of a V, but we always try to find, we know that the eyes are between rounds 9 and 10, so we're going to work the mouth between rounds 8 and 9 in the middle here. And I'm just trying to take a look to see exactly where the center is and what I want to do. I don't always like to put the faces into where the holes are. I find sometimes that doesn't give me the look that I want, but sometimes that's exactly where the face should go. So again, this is all trial and error until you find the expression that you like. So I want a little bit of a smile, and this can take a long time until you get the one that you like. So now that I'm happy with my face, happy with my eyes, then I can turn this around. I'm going to tie off my face first, and then take the backings to my eyes and snap them on. Right now I'm finished with round 10. I have 48 stitches, 48 single crochets in this round. I've worked single crochets into each of the back loops of those slip stitches, and we're going to decrease now by a lot because we want to bring the belly basket in. Oh, so I've already done my chain. So here we're going to do our decreases. So we work one and then we decrease. So for a decrease, you insert your hook into the front loop of the first stitch, and then insert your hook into the front loop of the second stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then you can complete your single crochet. And that makes it easier than if you inserted your hook through both loops of 2 stitches to try to complete the decrease. We'll be working on this all the way around. And this will take us to 32 stitches in the round, which is exactly how many we have in the basket cover. So we had created a basket cover earlier. We have this, and this is 32 stitches around, and we're going to fit it right here on top once we get the belly basket down to 32 stitches. We want to connect this to here, and we're going to be sewing. If you can see, there's these back horizontal bars. We're going to be using the mattress stitch to connect these stitches on the basket cover to these horizontal bars. I think the problem is when we get to the back here, the horizontal bar is difficult to see. It's actually this one. And then the other ones are right under the 2 loops. So what I might do is I've joined my round. I'm going to chain to lock it in place, and then I'm going to work the first set of the next round, which is 2 single crochets and then a decrease, just to kind of get me off the center there. And pull this up because we don't want to lose it while we do our sewing. Okay, so now we know that we want to work into all of these horizontal bars, but then in this section it's going to be one under, so it's going to be this one, and now you can see this horizontal bar is the one we're going to work into. This one, this one, this one, this one, and around. So there should be 32 of them. I'm going to take my basket cover, put that on a needle. I'm going to start over here and then work my way through. So my edges are not going to line up exactly, but that's not going to matter because you won't be able to see it from the outside. Okay, so I'm going to, this is one of the ridges, this is one of the ridges, and this is one of the ridges. So I am going to start on this third one, and I just want to pick up the horizontal bar. All right, and then here you have, there's 32 stitches, they're all fairly easy to see. And I don't think it matters whether you mattress stitch just the back loop or both loops. I'm going to go through both loops. Okay, and that just pulls it a little bit. It's all going to be on the inside. And then I'm going to get this next horizontal ridge on my belly basket. Oops. And then work from underneath or back to front, however you want to think about it, into my cover and then catch the next horizontal ridge here. I'm keeping everything loose right now just so I can see my stitches. And then here we're going to be working, this is our join, so I'm going to be getting that horizontal bar right at the join. And then under the next stitch on the cover. And then, so that was for this, so we're going to be working here. Okay, so now we've crossed over the join on the belly basket, which is great. Okay, so all these stitches are really loose. It's time that we tighten those up. You just take your needle and you pull up on these loops. And then once you get going, you just want to pull every stitch tight as you work so you don't have to go through this every time. Okay, so now we'll continue using a mattress stitch to connect the two pieces together. And then each time I'm going to pull the stitch tight. I don't like having to deal with stuffing on top of having to deal with sewing. So I try to get as much of the sewing done as possible. And then once the stuffing is in, all I have to do is just close up the last couple stitches. I left a hole to stuff. Here's our basket. This is the top of our basket. And we're going to continue making several more rounds here to create the handles. Okay, so I'm going to stuff this, make sure everything's kind of put away. We're going to get this stuffing out of the way of the edge, pick up our needle, and then finish off these last few stitches. The stuffing's getting in the way of me seeing this bar. Okay, found it. All right, and then I'm getting this last stitch in here. All right, so I'm pretty sure I'm closed up. I'm going to pick up a stitch from underneath, wherever I can find one. I'm going to tie a knot. So I've tucked in my end. I'm going to cut my yarn. I get rid of this. I get rid of my extra stuffing that I won't use. That's the bottom of our belly basket. Pattern calls for 2 single crochets and then a decrease. You've mattress stitched into the back bar, but the top 2 loops are still available for you to work into, and that's what we're doing right now. This is now just simply working in the round. I have now finished my rows of 24 stitches around. You can see the shape of the belly basket, and now we have to add the rim and put on the handles. For these slip stitches, I still want them to be loose. I'm not going to use them, they are the rim, but I don't want it to look shrunken at the top, so I do want to keep them still pretty loose so that there's a little bit of give. Okay, and now we're going to chain, and the chains you can make tighter because you don't want to see the holes in the chains. 1, okay, and then that's where we started. We're going to skip 2 and then work into here, the third one. I'm going to work a slip stitch, And then because this is right at the top of the basket, I'm not going to join right now. I'm going to use an invisible join. And we want to secure this inside. And then I'm going to tie a small knot right down here. And then just insert your needle to pull the end through. And that's it, you're done. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you really enjoyed this project.